In this series, we've already picked the best English football 11 of all time and the best British 11, but just to mix it up, how about the best from the 4 other nations? In other words, no England, the best from Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales and the Republic of Ireland. Would you pick Neville Southall ahead of Pat Jennings, for instance? What about a front two of Rush and Dennis Law? Giggs instead of George Best? Well, to discuss the various options, we're joined by Billy Bingham, who won 56 caps for Northern Ireland and went on to become the most successful manager in their history. Peter Nicholas played for Wales 73 times across a 13-year spell, and you couldn't keep Tommy Docherty out of a discussion like this, or any discussion for that matter. He played and managed Scotland, of course, and has handled some of the greats from all 4 nations. Probably all the nations, Tommy, when I think about it.
Yes, and European as well, I think, if you want to get into that.
Yeah, and various others from the world stage probably as well.
Some we haven't even heard of.
Let's have a look at the England 11 that was picked by Alan Mullery, Alan Ball and Frank McClintock. Just to give us a start point, it was Banks in goal, a back four of Byrne, Moore, McFarland and Wilson. A midfield quartet, Matthews, Bobby Charlton, Edwards and Finian up front, Greaves and Alan Shearer, the only one from, well, the modern day era. And not too many got a mention either along the way, which surprised me, I must say. But where do we start with a 4 nations 11, Billy? Who would you put up as prospective goalkeepers?
Well, I think that you've got to look at the players over the 4 decades that I've played, because that's how far my memory goes back.
We'll keep it post-war. Okay. Tom might beat you on that, so we'll stay more your era.
From the 50s. Of course, Paddy Bonner for the Republic of Ireland, I think, had a very long career with them. Jimmy O'Neill, I remember that Everton played for the Republic of Ireland. For Northern Ireland, it was Jennings and Gregg. Jennings from Tottenham and Arsenal, Gregg from Manchester United. Kelsey for Wales, I always stays in my mind as a very good keeper. And also Bill Brown for Scotland. And even the present keeper, Gorham, is a very good keeper. Although Scotland haven't been noted for having too many, Tommy.
You haven't mentioned Neville Southall, Billy.
Neville Southall.
We didn't miss the jibe, by the way.
Sorry.
We'll come back to that, I'm sure.
Chelsea, Wales, but Neville Southall, certainly present day.
I mean, you've played with Neville Southall. He would rank amongst the greats, surely, Peter.
Yes, I think he's been there for 10 or 12 years. He's been very busy recently, but yes, I'll be fighting out with Tommy and Billy on that one.
So you'd go, I mean, your vote would go for Neville, would it?
No, it wouldn't particularly, because my vote would be either Pat or Neville. But I will be pleased to listen to Tommy's views on that and see how we come up with.
Go on, Tom.
Well, it's very difficult because I think goalkeeping is obviously a specialised job, actually, a very, very specialised job. All great keepers. Andy Gorham is probably the best we've actually had, I would say.
The best ever in Scotland?
Best ever Scottish goalkeeper I think we've had, yeah. As Billy said, we haven't been, not great, we've had some good goalkeepers, but not really great goalkeepers. I think Andy comes into that category of being a really great goalkeeper. I think his experience in England helped him before he went north of the border. I find it very difficult. Neville Southall is a tremendous goalkeeper. Gets plenty of practice, of course, playing in the Welsh side, as you'd expect. There's a few leaks in that defence. I would really be hard stretched to go beyond. I think Pat Jennings is probably the best that I've seen.
Pat Jennings, would you take that, Billy? Pat Jennings?
Well, of course I'm biased.
You are, Billy.
I'm absolutely biased. Pat wasn't only a great goalkeeper, Pat was a great athlete. If you've seen him training on the track, he could outrun most players over most distances. He was a goalkeeper who was a natural in terms of he could get his body in the road of shots. He had marvellous hands, and in Ireland we call them, like, he had hands like a Lurgan spade. Lurgan spade was for digging turf, so he had a long hand. And that hand could catch a ball, he could catch it with one hand.
And he did,
and
on
did
more
it
than
many
one
times.
occasion.
But not only that, it's just that he was steady, cool, and he made the right decisions, and he played 119 internationals, and I think he would have played 100 for England or Scotland or Wales, with the greatest respect.
Okay, well, it's a credit then to Gorham and Southall that they've pushed him, but it is Jennings that we'll go for in goal, will we?
Certainly shadow with that, yeah. He had absolutely everything.
Yeah, outstanding.
And you can't have any more than that.
That is true. Okay, Pat Jennings goes in goal then. Let's start. I presume you want to go in a 4-4-2, will that do? Yeah, you'll take that?
4-4-2, 4-2-4, it doesn't, very similar, isn't it? Depends where you play with creative players on the flanks or defensive players.
Yeah, only have 3 at the back if you like, and use the players elsewhere.
Don't start complicating things. We all get 10 at the back, look what happened to that.
Let's go with the right full-back then. Any thoughts? Where shall we start? Billy, what do you think?
Well, I've picked out two. One from a past era, and I picked out three actually altogether. The past era is Johnny Carey, the Republic of Ireland, who actually represented Great Britain against the rest of Europe. So he was at peak form at that particular time in his career. And I remember him as a very cool, calculating right back who could use the ball terrifically well and very shrewd. Wow. The other one is McGrain, Danny McGrain of Celtic, who I thought was a great overlapper, good athlete, and played many years for Celtic. And modern day one I take is Irwin, Manchester United.
Dennis Irwin, yes.
I think people
right or left,
him.
it wouldn't matter really.
Steady Eddie. This guy doesn't play many bad games. He's always there and he does his stuff.
There was a story coming out of Manchester that he was going to have a bad game one day, but there's been no truth in it yet.
It's only a rumour.
It could only have been a rumour, couldn't it, Tom?
Yeah.
What do you think, Peter?
Well, I actually started my career at right back marking Steve Coppell for England against Wales, obviously, but I wouldn't put myself at right back, so we'll forget about that one, Tom.
Yes, I would, Peter. If I was
But
You must
going
have
on
seen
that
a lot
way,
of the soles of his boots that night as well.
Yes, I did, yes. That's in the back of his shirt as well a lot.
What about Barnes of Wales? He was a good right back.
Yes, Wally was, did very well, but I'm no shadow of doubt I'll go for Danny McGrain. I think he was very consistent, very hard, all-round footballer.
A Scotsman then at right back at the moment, Tommy.
If I was going for a Scotsman, the right full back.
No, you don't have to. I mean,
No,
you
no,
throw
I don't
any in the
have
ring
to,
you like, but Danny
I will,
McGrain's got to
yeah.
mention twice.
Yeah. Well, Danny McGrain played most of his games at left full back for Glasgow Celtic. I think the best Scottish right back I've seen ever is David Hay of Glasgow Celtic, the quiet assassin. 6'1", 6'2", strong, quick, great at getting forward, played behind little Jimmy Johnson. Great defence, he did everything. He's a marvellous defensive player as well. I would go Wally Barnes. I played against Wally, of course, for Arsenal. Good player, very, very good player.
John Gregg?
John Gregg, more of a wing half than a midfield player than he played at right back.
Pat Rice?
Pat Rice, yeah, but not in the class of David Hay or Danny McGrain. Roger Byrne.
Left back again.
Left back again, that's right. Played most of his game, 9 out of 10 at left full back.
Paddy Mulligan, Tom.
Paddy Mulligan, yeah, good laugh, Paddy. Gave a good laugh, Paddy. Yeah.
Are we on to right backs?
We're on right back at the moment.
That's the only thing that qualifies Paddy Mulligan, is it?
Yes,
Good laugh.
no, I would go John Carey, who could play 5 or 6 positions wonderfully well anywhere. I would put my hat on David Hay of Glasgow Celtic.
David Hay.
As a right full back.
So we're split here.
We are split here. We have a three-way split as well. Danny McGrain got a mention twice. I think Peter and...
At least we're
Billy,
trying to get Celtic
of all
there
those
in
that
there
you've
somewhere.
mentioned, would you go with McGrain in order that we got a decision?
I would, but Johnny Carey was a wonderful player.
Yes.
And I think Tommy knows that.
I
He's of
wouldn't-
our era, well, the beginning of our era, put it that way.
I wouldn't be offended if Johnny Carey got the benefit of that. Because he was a magnificent
So I think we ought to get
player.
a casting vote, really, from Peter Nicholas as to whether it be Johnny Carey or whether it be Danny McGrain. Does David
I think
Hay...
it should be remembered that Johnny Carey played for the Great Britain team.
Yes.
Against the
Captain,
rest of
I think, if my memory
Well, it's your
serves,
team,
at Hampden
gentlemen.
Park.
It is your team, so I
Hampden
mean, it
Park.
is very much
Well,
your
this
There's
decision.
moment
putting
in
pressure on
time-
Peter here.
Does
already.
David Hay go in? Has David Hay got a vote anywhere else?
Well, I would go for Danny McGrain before David Hay, but listening to Tom and Billy on this one, I think the man Carey is
I think-
a little bit better than the two of them.
I think overall, because John Carey could play in so many positions outstandingly well, if you were picking a squad, say 22 players for the World Cup, if you select Carey, immediately you've got 6 or 7 outstanding players.
So in order
one
to be
position.
flexible, we'll put Johnny Carey
I
in,
would
shall
put
we?
John in,
Because
yeah,
you may
John.
be able to move him around
Yeah.
later if you wanted
Yeah.
to. So we'll go
in case
Johnny
of-
Carey.
In case of injuries, a call.
Yeah, of course.
Suspension.
Johnny Carey. Okay, let's go Johnny Carey at right back. So now we need 2 centre halves or one and one behind, whatever you
Shall we
want.
go for left back?
Or left back if you
Let's
like,
go
Billy.
for
Let's go
left
left back.
back.
Let's
Go
do
for
the
left
full backs.
back.
Go on then.
Okay.
Dennis Irwin again.
Well, I would put Dennis Irwin quite high, Republic of Ireland. My old pal from Northern Ireland, Mal Donaghy, who played left back for years for me and played a number of positions as well, was a very fast player. Al Sherwood of Wales, Peter.
Yes.
Excellent player. I know because I've played against him many times. And 2 Scotsmen I name, Cox
Sammy Cox.
of Rangers and Caldo of Rangers. 2 very quick moving players, difficult to beat.
Peter and I are looking a little blank at the time.
And
You
yes,
mentioned
indeed.
those two,
I'm sorry. Cox came in at the early 50s, and Caldo probably in the 60s.
Followed them in.
Followed them in.
Followed Sammy
That's
Cox.
right. So we're stuck between Irwin, Donaghy, Sherwood, Caldo.
Rod Thomas played left back.
Anybody
a few times
else?
for Wales, didn't
How
he?
about Tony Dunn of Manchester United?
Tony Dunn, fine. Yes. Buddy Hearn. Very good left back.
Sammy Nelson.
Sammy Nelson, good for her.
Sherwood's the one who I would.
Sherwood.
I think Sherwood's a tough defender. He was good with the ball. He's the one I go for.
I go that one.
Sherwood, 2 for Sherwood. Tom? Stuart Houston?
No, I'm stuck between Dennis Irwin and Roger.
You sure
Burns.
about Stuart? You didn't say much.
Stuart was
Roger Burns English, Tommy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, yes. It's all these foreign players that come in, I get mixed up now. You know. I would go for Dennis Irwin.
Yes, and Roger would be foreign in this team.
Exactly. I would go for Dennis Irwin. So would John Kerry, of course. Yeah. I would go for Dennis Irwin of Manchester United.
Dennis Irwin.
Never seen them have a bad game.
Dennis Irwin. Dennis Irwin?
I'll go along with the Dennis Irwin.
Dennis Irwin. Let's go Dennis Irwin. Let's put Dennis Irwin in there at left full back.
No,
Now we can go
I'm
2
sorry
centre
about
halves,
that.
yeah?
Tom, are you going anti-Welsh today? Or are you-
Yeah. No, I'm not going. I've always have been, Peter. No, you're going to get one player in here, definitely.
Right.
You're going to definitely get one player.
Let's
in.
go 2 centre halves then.
Thanks a lot.
Two together you want?
Well, whatever,
Or
yeah,
just
but
one?
I think let's throw
Okay.
some names around and see what we come up with.
I'll throw some names in for you. Right. Centre back for Republic of Ireland, Moran of Manchester United.
Yeah.
McGrath,
Yes,
McCarthy,
yes.
O'Leary,
Lawrenson,
yeah,
O'Leary, John
Lawrenson.
Charles,
So you've got a fair choice there. A very good.
Big
players.
Billy McNeil,
That's the Scottish side of it.
Hanson.
Alan Hansen,
Woodburn of Rangers,
McLeish, Miller.
Charles of Wales,
Yeah, I mentioned Charles.
Definitely.
Mike England, Wales,
Mike England,
We've seen them all. We've played with some of them.
Bobby Evans, Celtic,
Radcliffe.
Kevin Ratcliffe, yeah.
John Charles.
I think John Charles goes
Without
in,
any
doesn't
shadow of a doubt.
John Charles. Let's
John
put John
Charles.
Charles in there
Yeah.
centre half.
Without any
danger.
shadow
With
of
who?
a doubt.
Who's he
you
playing
happy with that,
alongside?
Peter?
I'm very happy with that one, yes.
John Charles
thanks
has got to
for-
play alongside, I think, Alan Hansen.
Hansen.
Funny, I've got that on my list, Tom.
Thank you, Billy.
I'm with you all
Good
the way.
judge, Billy.
It's funny that. What would you say about Hansen? The best Scottish centre half that they never had, or not often enough?
He should have had 150 caps for Scotland. Yet managers, great managers, like
Jock
Stein,
Stein.
God rest his soul.
They didn't like him because he
Alex
was
Ferguson.
attacking. They didn't like him
For
because
some
he was
reason,
attacking.
they never went for him at all.
Had you been manager during that period, he would have had 150 caps then.
200.
I think the main reason they didn't go for him was that he was an attacking centre back.
Yeah.
And they were the old
Because-
school. They
I think
were-
Alex Ferguson, in fairness, went for
Yeah.
the Miller and McLeish because
He knew them,
which is
didn't he?
yes,
Yeah.
and he went for a right away. You've got an immediate understanding
Yeah,
of the
sure.
two fellas that played for the
Yeah,
same club.
yeah.
I think Hanson, at the time he came in, was ahead of himself. Completely, whoever he was playing with,
Yeah.
he was ahead of them. And I don't think the managers at that time can handle that.
Maybe Tommy can tell us about Woodburn of Rangers. I believe he was a very good player, Tom.
Yeah. Off the pitch, an absolute gentleman. On it,
Yeah.
an assassin. But he could play. Great in the air, could use the ball well,
Yes.
could dig.
Yeah.
Problem with referees, you get involved with the
Got a
referees.
lot going for him then.
Imagine
Yeah.
looking
He,
to,
he could be in.
Sounds like a
Bucking-
perfect player.
Yeah, he could be in.
Bucking off the centre half, Peter, rather than
yes,
like,
attacking.
yeah,
Bucking with John Charles?
Like with
Is that
John
a good
Charles,
call?
you could Hansen. I would have Hansen. Matt Lawrence,
Mark
great
Lawrenson.
player.
I mean,
Well,
you've got
I
David O'Leary,
would-
Kevin Moran you
Yes,
mentioned.
Kevin.
You're looking for a
you-
couple. You're looking for a
yeah. You've got two
contrast.
centre halves with Charles and Moran, or Charles and Woodburn.
Charles and
Buchan,
Hansen.
Martin Buchan was a magnificent
Could you go
player.
Charles and Lawrenson?
Yes, you could. I would go Charles and Hansen.
Charles and Hansen.
What about Paul McGrath?
Paul
Yeah.
McGrath.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Modern day,
There's-
Colin Hendry.
No.
Not in the same class as Paul McGrath.
I would go with Charles and Hansen.
Charles and Hansen.
Yep.
Charles and Hansen. You may have changed Tommy's
Yeah,
mind.
no
from that,
McGrath.
as
No
we spoke.
McGrath.
Paul McGrath.
I think Charles Hanson.
Charles and Hansen.
Hansen.
Tommy's
and-
outnumbered this time. Peter and I have got him.
I'm going for Alan Hansen.
Alan Hansen.
Good.
After some deliberation.
Yes.
Charles and Alan Hansen.
Yeah.
Right, okay, well it's getting interesting, isn't it? Charles and Alan Hansen.
Right.
Okay, that's our team so far then. Let's have a look at our defence. That's Pat Jennings, we've got Carey, Charles, Hansen and Irwin across a back four. And plenty more discussion yet, because we've got a midfield four, presumably,
That's right.
to
Starting
sort.
from the right wing.
And we'll go up two up front, will we?
Yep.
Okay, so that's our four at the back so far.